And in another one of Paula Xinis' cases where she's shaking down the cops, there's a case from Lindenwold, New Jersey, which is a city of 17,000. And Judge Xinis was able to get $5 million out of that small city. And their cops really hadn't done what Xinis says that they did. And the case actually was going nowhere. It was being handled by the two top police brutality lawyers in New Jersey. It was going nowhere, and it looks like Paula Xinis' firm came into the case, and I guess they had their bag full of money, and all of a sudden the judge immediately starts going in their way and letting them write all fake facts into the case, and very soon there was the $5 million shakedown. So what happened is, I think it may have been an African-American, now it was an African-American woman who was the subject of a traffic stop, and the cop may not have had a legitimate reason to stop her. But after that point, he wasn't nasty to her or doing anything bad to her. I guess he just was running a stop where he just wanted to talk to her, see if she's doing something wrong, but he wasn't supposed to do that. So that's the worst that he may have done. And so everything was going okay until the husband, who was driving behind her a few minutes, he showed up, and instead of keeping a safe distance and just keeping an eye out, and the husband is a full-time cab driver, so he knows exactly how a traffic stop works. And so, but he comes right up to the cop's face and starts to menace the cop. And, you can't have that. You can't have someone who's not supposed to be there getting in the way. And he wasn't like coming to defend his wife. There was nothing being done to his wife. And so he starts menacing the cop, and it goes on for a while. And then finally the cop wants to arrest the guy. And because, that behavior is really, odd and bizarre. It's not like a normal behavior for someone else to show up, even though it's her husband, for someone else to show up in the middle and intimidate the cop, even though, there's nothing going on really there. And finally, so he refused to be arrested for a long time, and the cop pepper sprays him. And it's not the reaction someone should have to pepper spray. He just calmly stands there saying, "You should not have pepper sprayed me." So with this, it escalates to the point, since he's a canine officer, he releases his dog, and the dog does the right thing. It doesn't bite the head or cause harm to the guy. It bites and holds the leg, which means, yes, the skin gets broken on the leg, and he gets a level of injuries on his leg. But even the injuries on his leg, it gets treated at a hospital, and he's released in a couple of hours. So he doesn't have any like major damage to the veins or bones or the blood vessels. So it looks like just a painful bite to the leg, but not really leaving long-term bad damages. Maybe it's going to leave some kind of disfiguring type damages to the skin, leaving bad marks and stuff. So, but because because with the dog biting and holding, that still wouldn't subdue the guy. And so the cop also went from the top of the guy. He tried to grab him and push him down to the ground. And so when all this is going on, the guy, since his wife and kids are right there, nobody ever said that the cop actually hit his head or slammed him to the ground. What was happening is, while the dog was biting and holding the leg, the cop went on the top and he went to tackle the guy and bring him down, but at the same time he wasn't punching or hitting his head or shoving his head into the concrete or anything like that. But still, somehow the guy's head obviously got hit somewhere, and he suffered a very severe brain injury, which didn't even show up at the beginning. Even the hospital staff didn't see it. He actually got released from the hospital for the leg wound, and it's like at night the really bad brain injury showed up. So, it's a bad thing that this happened to this guy, but he kind of brought it on himself, and also the cop didn't actually take the cop didn't do anything to actually directly injure his head. He wasn't being malicious. He was trying to tackle him, and I guess he got hit somewhere. And if it was anything else, his wife and kids would have seen something different. So the case was really going nowhere. So then, after I guess Paula Xinis and her crew came with their bag of money or whatever, the judge immediately started changing things. The first thing is the judge made the other side accept a late amendment. It was basically, with an amendment to the case, the other side needs to get like a few weeks to read things over. And you can see in the court file, the other side is complaining that they only had like 2 hours to read the revisions to the case, and the revisions to the case was being made 2 full years after the filings ever took place. So, what is all this new information? And so in the revisions to the case, all of a sudden, they're suing on behalf of the wife and kids as well. They're adding them to the lawsuit, and also they're adding all new kind of fake facts to the case. They say, and even the fake facts really contradict, So the fake facts become that the cop deliberately did all these things in front of the guy's wife and kids, to make things worse. But at the same time, then we have the wife and kids now saying, well, at least the kids are really young, so the wife is now saying that the cop was hitting the guy hitting and punching him on the head and such. So you're saying if the cop did everything deliberately in front of the wife, then why does she have such 2 versions of the story? In the first version, she's not talking about the guy getting punched and hit on the head and all of a sudden now she's adding in punching and hitting to the head. So she never had that in her story, and so it doesn't add up. And then it also says it says that the guy was not intimidating at all, okay? But at the same time, when they go to say, he suffered this horrible head injury, they present him as a weak person, as someone who's physically weak, who suffered, and the cop beat him up kind of thing, and made him suffer a head injury. But then at the same time, what they do is, when the guy was getting in the cop's face, they wanted to show that the guy looked like a very friendly guy and harmless to the cop, so the cop had no reason seeking to arrest him because the guy was not looking menacing or harmful to the cop. So, and then when it comes to saying, well, the guy suffered a bad head injury and he didn't have any health problem, at that point Xinis writes down the guy is 6 foot tall, 228 pounds or whatever, and full of muscle. He's virtually all muscle, So the guy is like 6 foot tall. So Paula Xinis says the guy is 6 foot tall, 228 pounds, and virtually all muscle when it comes to making the claim that the guy should that the guy only ever got, he didn't have any pre-existing kind of conditions, and he's a very healthy, vibrant guy, and whatever came about, it came about by the altercation. So for there, she wants to have it said that way. At the same time, she doesn't want his Adonis type figure to be mentioned when it comes time for the officer to say that, well, yeah, because the guy looked like that, that's why it was even more intimidating. At that point, the guy's Adonis figure is being hidden. So, and this is how the judges do things in court cases when they want to swing things one way. So this, the same kind of fact, they're allowed to present it in two different ways, and the other side is not allowed to challenge it. So they're kind of taking advantage of the guy being big and strong and saying he shouldn't have gotten hurt unless the cop did something bad. And then at the same time, when it comes time to saying that the cop had a legitimate right to feel afraid of this guy, at that point, that same kind of evidence cannot be included. And then, with whatever deal Xinis had with the judge, there was all kinds of really unfair things showing up. The guy who was injured, his medical records, the judge only allowed a very limited version of his medical records to show up. So there was nothing about the guy's history, whether he's using drugs or anything kind of to show up, because really it was important, because they want to try to, it's important to kind of see what's going on with the guy, whether he has some past violence or drug problem, and that could lead to his kind of fearless behavior against the cop, and also they want to see if there's something in his medical history which can explain why he suffered like this bad stroke during this altercation. So, but the judge doesn't allow any of that information to come into the case. And what the judge allows to come into the case is the cop's entire medical history. And that's just bizarre. I mean, why is the cop's entire medical history being pulled into the case? And then they also have other contradictions. In one, they say that the cop declared bankruptcy deliberately just so he doesn't have to pay this guy from the lawsuit. Okay, so they say the cop declared bankruptcy deliberately just for this reason. But then they also want to say in the case that the cop had past financial troubles. So, they want to present the cop as someone to say the cop had bad character because he had past financial troubles. And now, well, if he still has financial troubles, it makes sense why he's declaring bankruptcy today. And now they say, but then they want two separate, the same kind of facts, again, seen in two different ways, in different parts of the case to suit them best. And this is the kind of thing that went on. And so, and then, easily without the case ever going to trial, the city had to pay $5 million, of course, through their insurance, but obviously the insurance goes up after that, and it was all done by Xinis. And Xinis even received an award from the New Jersey Law Society or whatever, because they're not saying exactly how she got it done, because she wasn't supposed to win that case, and she won it big. where the top lawyers from New Jersey could not get it done.